Which two statements from the passage best support the idea that Jacqueline Bouvier Kennedy's support contributed to John F. Kennedy's success?
Which two statements from the passage best support the idea contributed to John F. Kennedy's success?
While recovering from surgery, Mrs. Kennedy encouraged him to write a book about several U.S. senators who had risked their careers to fight for the things they believed in. After their honeymoon in Mexico, the Kennedys returned to Washington, D.C. Early on in their marriage, Senator Kennedy suffered crippling pain in his back from football and wartime injuries and had 2 operations. He began traveling all around the country and Jacqueline often accompanied him. From there, she answered hundreds of campaign letters, taped TV commercials, gave interviews, and wrote a weekly newspaper column, Campaign Wife, which was distributed across the country. He began traveling all around the country and Jacqueline often accompanied. Early on in their marriage, Senator Kennedy suffered crippling pain after their honeymoon in Mexico. While recovering from surgery, Mrs. Kennedy encouraged him to write a book about several U.S. senators who, while recovering,
Yeah, I'm so close.
A central idea in this excerpt is that many people migrated from Europe to America. The author refines this idea by listing the
central idea in this excerpt is that many people migrated from there to there. The author refines this idea by listing the
In many ways, the story of America is the story of movement, the unprecedented migration of people, ideas, and beliefs. The Statue of Liberty stands as perhaps the most iconic symbol of our nation's largely immigrant past and its European heritage in particular. Under the watchful gaze of this imposing monument, lives converged. Between 1892 and 1954, over 12 million immigrants passed through the processing facility on Ellis Island. Between 1892 and 1954, over 12 million immigrants passed through the processing facility on Ellis Island. Many of those people left homes across Europe, particularly England, Ireland, the German and Russian empires, and Scandinavian countries to escape famine, political and economic oppression, or in search
Yes, it's definitely this. Just double check. Proofreading, you know. Yay, I'm almost done. Okay, 43 minus 35. 8 more questions.
Which details from the passage are emphasized in both the text and images? A. Details about Jacqueline Kennedy's life with John F. Kennedy. B. Details about Jacqueline Kennedy's life with John F. Kennedy. B. Details about Jacqueline Kennedy's work as a photographer. C. Details about Jacqueline Kennedy's life inside the White House. D. Details about Jacqueline Kennedy's accomplishments as a writer.
Bouvier? That sounds familiar. I see something about being a camera person.
Family. Only a year old when her mother first put her on a horse. Oh, the inquiring camera girl. She started her first job as the inquiring camera girl. Yeah, it doesn't talk enough about being a camera person, I think, photographer. And it looks like they're not just in the White House. They're at Rhode Island, so it's not C. And they don't, so it's probably A.
Which two details are most important to include in a summary of the excerpt? Excerpt from Around the World in 80 Days by Jules Verne. The weather was bad during the latter days of the voyage. The wind, obstinately remaining in the northwest, blew a gale and retarded the steamer. The Rangoon rolled heavily and the passengers became impatient of the long, monstrous waves which the wind raised before their path. So the Rangoon reefed all her sails, and even the rigging proved too much, whistling and shaking amid a squall. The steamer was forced to proceed slowly, and the captain estimated that she would reach Hong Kong 20 hours behind. The steamer was forced to. Phileas Fogg gazed at the tempestuous sea, which seemed to be struggling especially to delay him. He never changed countenance for an instant, though a delay of 20 hours. He never changed, but this man of nerve manifested neither impatience nor annoyance. It seemed as if the storm were a part of his program, and had been foreseen. Aouda was amazed. The weather was bad during The weather was bad. Phileas Fogg gazed at the tempestuous sea, which seemed to be struggling especially to delay him, with his habitual tranquility. He never changed cow.
The Rangoon rolled heavily, and the passengers became impatient of the long, monstrous waves, which the wind raised before their path. The steamer was forced to proceed slowly. I don't understand. None of those aren't really important. In my opinion.
Read the excerpt. Then choose the.
Well,
But this man of nerve, the steamer was the weather. The Rangoon rolled heavily and the passengers became impatient of the long, monstrous way. The Rangoon rolled heavily and the passengers became impatient of the steamer was forced to
that
proceed.
makes the most sense to me. I'm probably wrong though.
The underlined sentence in the excerpt has the effect of setting up for the foreshadowing. Pacing. Even getting away from home this morning hadn't foreshadowing. Pacing. Even getting away. It was spring. The old man's words stayed with her as she drove. Foreshadowing. The old man's words stayed with her as she drove up into the mountains. She began to feel shaky. This was the first time she had driven outside of Los Angeles. Still, last night she had pored over maps and written everything down. She knew exactly where she was going. So far, everything had been all right. Even getting away from home this morning hadn't been too bad. It was spring vacation, and her mom and stepfather were away on business. The only person she had to explain to was the neighbor woman who looked in on her. The hard part had been figuring what to say to her mother. She had sat staring at a flashback. To show why. She knew what she wanted to write. Dear Mother, it was bad enough after the. Even getting away from home this morning hadn't been too bad.
Getting away from home this morning hadn't been too bad. Just leave her home. Nervous? I think it's probably the neighbor chose to leave. Then, even getting away from home this morning hadn't been too bad. Pacing? Because that's not a. Maybe that's a flashback. Even getting away from. Oh, even getting away from home this morning hadn't been too bad. Maybe that's saying something like it's later bad. So close.
How does Pip's interaction with Jaggers advance the plot? The interaction between Pip and Jaggers signals a decrease in tension. Signals a decrease in tension. Introduces a new event. Develops the following action. My name, he said, is Jaggers, and I am a lawyer in London. I have unusual business to conduct with you. Now, Joseph Gargery, I am the bearer of an offer to relieve you of this young fellow, Pip, your apprentice. Joe and I gasped and looked at one another. I am instructed to communicate to him, said Mr. Jaggers, throwing his finger at me sideways, that he will come into a fine piece of property. Further, that it is the desire of the present possessor of that property, that he be immediately removed from his present sphere of life, and from this place, and be brought up as a gentleman, in a word, as a young fellow of great expectations. My dream was out. Miss Havisham was going to make my fortune on a grand scale. Now, Mr. Pip, pursued the lawyer, I address the rest of what I have to say to you. You are to understand, first, that it is the request of the person from whom I take my instructions that you always bear the name of Pip. You will have no objection, I dare say, to your great expectations being weighed down with that easy condition.
Mm.
My dream was out. Miss Havisham was going to make my fortune on a grand scale. Now, Mr. Pip, pursued the lawyer, I address the rest of what I have to say to you. You are to understand, first, that it is the request of the person from whom I take my instructions that you always bear the name of Pip. You will have no objection, I dare say, to your great expectations being weighed down with that easy condition. But if you have any objection,
I don't know. I actually don't know that one. I don't even know what that means.
which phrase best completes the writer's explanation? In the novella The Time Machine by H.G. Wells, the narrator expects that the future will be more advanced, but he instead encounters simple creatures. As they made no effort to communicate with me, but simply stood round me smiling and speaking in soft cooing notes to each other. However, I would propose that perhaps the creature's communication was more advanced.
Huh? Oh. No longer had any need. Forgot. It's either the second or third one. No longer had? No, it's probably this one. Alright! Oh, I'm getting so close. Yay.
In which two ways does the sixth paragraph contribute to the development of claims in the passage? In which two ways does the sixth paragraph contribute to the development of claims in the passage? It explains the effects adapted from
2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
There is one submarine built for peaceful pursuits. It is the Argonaut, invented by Simon Lake. This remarkable boat crawls along the bottom of the sea, but not at an immense depth. It is equipped with divers' appliances and is used in saving wreckage. Divers can go out through the bottom of the boat, walk about on the sea bottom, and when through with their work re-enter the boat, all the while boat and men are, perhaps, 100 feet below the surface. The diver's compartment, from which the divers go out into the water, is separated by an airtight partition from the rest of the boat. Compressed air is forced into this compartment until the pressure of the air equals the pressure of the water outside. Then the door in the bottom is opened, and the air keeps the water out. In which two ways does the sixth paragraph contribute to the development of claims in the passage? It explains the effects of submarines on science. It illustrates how submarines can be used for recreation. It lists the different ways air is stored in submarines. It supports the title by giving an example of a great invention. It describes a non-military use for submarines.
One, two, three, 4, 5, 6. Oh yeah, so recreation. And non-military. Oh. Well, wait. What is the definition of recreation? The act or process of creating something. Enjoyment. They're working, so... Different ways air is stored. Diver's compartment separated by an airtight patron. Giving an example. I think that's right. Oh god, I hope I didn't fail this.
Which sentence best expresses a celebratory message? We have, at last, achieved our political emancipation. We pledge ourselves to liberate all our people from the continuing bondage of poverty, deprivation. We pledge ourselves We pledge ourselves to liberate all our people from the continuing bondage of poverty, deprivation, suffering, gender and other We succeeded to take our last steps to freedom in conditions of relative peace. We commit ourselves to the construction of a complete, just and lasting peace. We have triumphed in the effort to implant hope in the breasts of the millions of our. We have triumphed in the effort to implant hope in the breasts. As a token of its commitment to the renewal of our country, the new interim government of national unity will, as a matter of urgency, address the
Bum 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 bum.
Which detail best develops the character of the narrator, Jane Eyre, in the excerpt? 43. Which detail best develops the character of the narrator, Jane Eyre? Bessie asked if I would have a book. The word book acted as a transient stimulus, and I begged her to fetch Gulliver's Travels from the. Bessie asked if I would have a book. The word book acted as a transient stimulus, and I begged her to fetch Gulliver's Travels from the library. For as to the elves, have Yet, when this cherished volume was now placed in my hand, when I turned over its leaves, and sought in its marvelous pictures the charm I had, till now, never failed to. Bessie had now finished dusting and tidying the room, and having washed her hands, she opened a certain little drawer, full of splendid shreds of silk and satin, and began making. I had often heard the song before, and always with lively delight, for Bessie had a sweet voice. Yet, when this cherished volume was now placed in my hand, when I turned over its leaves, and sought in its marvelous pictures the charm I had, till now, never failed to find, all was eerie and dreary. Bessie asked if I would have a book.
Sought it. I tried my hat till now. Never failed to find. Yay, please. Please. Oh, I don't know. Is that passing? I'll probably pass this. It's probably okay. Mm. Eh. Oh. Oh, contour was probably not it. Oh, I see. Sometimes I do that. 100% sunrise. Huh. Oh, I passed it! Yay! Yay! Yippee!